Okay, so move you up a little bit so you can see good. Okay, so we're gonna start by washing the canvas. Just adding water, just because we're gonna be blending right on the canvas. Okay, so we have a little bit of an acid green color in here, so we're gonna mix that first. So you can use whatever brush you're most comfortable mixing with. I'm just gonna use the big one for my brain. So we're gonna take some yellow, and then we're gonna take the tiniest bit of regular, like bright green, mix it together. It goes a long way. You can even add a little more yellow to that. We just want it to be a little fluorescent, okay? So we're gonna take this weird color. We're gonna start by doing some downward brush strokes. Just like this, oh. Okay. Just doing the top. Now we're gonna just do a few. I'm turning it, so this way is the uppy downy way, like this with the brush wide. Now I'm turning it horizontal. We just want to give just a little bit. Where did my picture go? There it is. Just a little bit. Maybe just a tiny bit here, just so we have some balance. And again, I'm carrying this picture up, this color up to the top, and then bringing it down, just so it's cohesive. All right, we're gonna rinse off our brush really good. Tap it on the paper towel to dry it off. And I'm gonna pick up some white paint, like a scoop of it, like a tongue. And I'm just gonna start bringing this into the background. I'm gonna try to avoid some of these spaces. Now you can always overlap, but once you do that, you end up with the color on here. So anywhere you paint is gonna be yellow. So trying to avoid that is not a bad thing. You might just tell people they're gonna have to wash their brush off after they do the yellow areas. You can also do white over the whole thing, but then you're not gonna have the vibrancy of the white. See, when you mix white with it, how it just kind of softens. All right, so we're adding white up here. We're doing this fast because this next part is gonna be wet on wet. So even though we put water on the canvas before, we want this white paint all over it. I know I'm going the wrong way, but nobody's gonna care. I'm out of white already. So just along this middle part, and then when you get to these parts with yellow, again, I'm gonna change the direction that I'm using my brush, and I'm just gonna go down or up into the color a little bit around it. All right. Now we've got white on here. I'm gonna lift this up and set it on the railing so I can paint way down at the bottom of this without having to monkey with that. All right, I've got white on my brush. I'm gonna dip just the corner of it in some red. And I'm just gonna take that, I'm just gonna mush this around a little bit just so I have a nice dark pink. I'm gonna take that from the bottom up, all the way along the bottom of the canvas. You're gonna have to reload. A little more white, a little more red, mush it together. So a little more white, a little more red, mush it together. Now, if you're getting a lot of pixels, you can always dip your brush in your water, just the tip of it, and then go over what you're already painting, and that will hydrate and smooth it without changing the color too much. Obviously, you don't want a lot of it, but we just want a little bit. Okay, so we're just kind of going over these spaces, getting this nice streak. Once you're in your vibe with the streaking, we're gonna be real intentional, and we're just gonna add a few, start at the top, and then just whoop, over the edge. We'll add a few up on the side here. I'm gonna be real intentional about this one and add a really nice dark one, kind of over here. This also acts, the white also acts as a buffer for this yellow, right? And then I'm just gonna kind of add a little bit of soft, really diluted pink through this, right? I'm gonna do it again on these sides, kind of like I mean it. Maybe add just a few darker spots here. Now, where we know her dress is gonna be, I'm gonna pick up just a little bit more red. I dab the corner of my brush in here and I'm mushing it down to really push it into the bristles. And I'm just gonna kind of go where I know that the dress is gonna be in here, just to give us a nice background. Okay, I'm gonna rinse my brush off. Take a look, am I happy? I add a little bit more pink right here. All right, it's a little intense. Okay, so in theory, there's dry time now. Okay, all right. So in your class, we're gonna do dry time, okay? In our life, we're actually not. So if this is the middle of the canvas right here, this is where the bottom of her dress is gonna go, we're gonna do a little dot right here, okay? On either side of this, we're gonna do a nice X mark here. Goes onto this side just real nice and straight. And then this one, we're gonna do so it's curved. So this one starts up here normal, but then it kind of curves out just a little bit at a different angle because her hip's going to be popped up. So this goes straight down. This is a wonky angle out. All right, leave that alone. Let's pretend that this is all dry, okay? Now we are going to take straight red and we're gonna make a really big anchor swirl here. And we're gonna do one right here. This is the edges of her dress. Okay, we're gonna do another one like right here, okay? We're gonna dip this, I'm using this little teeny tiny brush, and I'm gonna actually dip that in red and white. And I'm gonna go right here where I know this is gonna be at an angle, right? So I'm gonna start up here. I'm gonna do this at an angle downward. And then I'm just gonna make where I know that this is gonna go from right here all the way down on either side like this. You're not gonna draw these lines, but like this. So I'm gonna make another like rough couple of like, and then this one's gonna go right up here, and this one ends down here, right? So this is where it goes out of the composition on this side, and then down here is where it goes out of the composition on this side, right? So we're just kind of adding some anchor points so that you can let people do their own creating, and you don't have to describe each one of these swirls, right? So what you're gonna tell them is, wherever there's a little yellow underneath, they're either gonna take green and yellow or yellow and white, and they're just gonna make some of these over these spots in the dress. And they can throw a few of them in here too, that's fine. And then same over here. White and yellow, or even that little kind of acid green mix. Anywhere that there's stuff poking through, we're gonna add those where it already is, okay? Now it might mix in with some of your other paint a little bit. We don't hate that, that's okay. Then I'm gonna add just a couple accents. So I'm gonna do one out here, and I'll probably do one, like I said, in here, and maybe we'll do one right in the middle, okay? Those are your accents for your highlight color, or your accent color, which is this yellow. All right, let's rinse this guy off. Now just tell them to have fun with it. If this brush is too small, they can switch to this bigger brush. And they're gonna wanna use a combination of straight red down at the bottom. And then every now and then they're gonna wanna pick up some white on their brush. And they're just gonna wanna like do one direction and then the other direction, one direction and then the other direction, and just overlap one direction and the other direction. Let's get all of our colors in there, right? We want to have some white ones and some red ones. We're just going to do different sizes too. We're just going to build this up. And you can go back over some of them that you've already done. I'm going to switch back to my little brush because I just feel like I have more control. And I want to add some of these kind of darker colored ones. So one direction, the other direction, one direction, the other direction. Just keep adding. Do a whole bunch of these guys. Let's do a big one. I think the general rule is the higher up we get, the smaller the shapes are gonna get, right? So they're really little up here and they get bigger as we go down. Not that you can't have a few small ones, but we're gonna just do some little guys up here. And you'll notice they start blending a little bit together. And that's okay. We just wanna have some highlight. And just tell people to have fun with it. But what's fun about this is that the underpaint is already lending itself to the dress. If it's not standing out enough, they can either mix a little green in to darken it, or you can hand out, you'll be handing out blacks. You can also use black to darken. The green kind of makes it muddy. So it just depends on what kind of low light you're looking for. And you can even, when you're doing the strokes behind, you can even do some darker ones too, and then cover those up. Just remind people not to overthink it. They can overlap stuff just a little bit. And they're just taking turns with red and white, which will make pink. And they can even blend some of them in here on the edges, right? We want to have a little bit of red highlighting some of the yellow ones. Just a little bit. Just to kind of define the edge. So as you're going and making pink, you can just be like, and you can just outline some of these other guys. All right, so we'll leave this for now because you can get lost in the swirls and you're like, oh, That's a lot happening down here. And don't forget, you don't have to stop here. We can carry these down over the edge if you want to. All right, I'm rinsing off my little guy. And, sorry, my computer keeps being a pain. All right, now, this is gonna go up higher than this side, and we're just gonna have a nice sweetheart back line like this. This side's higher than this side. Just we're gonna give her a little bit of a waist. And I always like to encourage people to make someone they're comfortable looking at. So if this person isn't the size or shape that you want, you're the artist. Make it how you like it. You know, you're just doing what's on the master, but you can encourage people to have some fun with their lady. All right, then we're just gonna curve this down. Boop, 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 boop. And we'll clean up this edge again, okay? But we're just kind of getting our first coat on there. All right, let's rinse. And we're gonna get some black paint. Again, I'm still using this little small round Kevin Hart guy. I want the brush damp, but not too damp, so I'm actually dipping it in water, and I'm pulling a little bit of black away from the main thing, and I'm mixing a tiny bit of water in that. Now you notice it's not wet enough to drip, right? But it's just slightly more hydrated. Okay, so we're gonna mimic this shape. We're gonna pretend that this continues. This line right here, shoot, goes up, not too far, just a little bit. Her shoulder's gonna start here, and then same with this line. This line goes out, shoop, but it's at an angle, right? So now we've got our nice curve here. We're gonna mimic this shape exactly, just for visual joy, okay? Just gonna outline this right here. This will become part of the hair, but we're gonna draw it anyway, okay? And then we're gonna just do this curve right down here. We'll just outline this nice. Just fill it in. It's got a little cap on it now. You see how we're just extending this line up and over and down, and we're also keeping the same angle here as here. Okay. All right, so now we've got this, we've got the hint of her arm coming down. We're gonna pretend her hands are clasped in front of her, okay? So we don't have to monkey with the arms. If people wanna put arms out, they can. We're not gonna today. All right, so her head is up to about here. We are gonna draw a nice neck on her, okay? Goes right here. And we're going to draw this nice oval that also includes hair. Okay, so this is her head. For measurement, this to here, to her chin, is the same as her chin to the top of her head. So this from the V to here is the same as from the chin to the top for measurement purposes. All right, now I know you said hair was kind of getting you a little bit. Don't worry about that. We're just gonna start the hair here. It's just gonna curl out just a little bit. And then we're gonna take it right from the shoulder. You can even use the end of these brush bristles. You know, we're just kind of taking like right here and whoop, and then taking from the shoulder and going down, right? Okay, so now we want to have this nice hair that just kind of cascades down. She's got it flipped to one side. So we're going to kind of keep the side of her head like this, and then we're just going to cascade this hair with a wavy line. Now, once you get it made, you might need to be like, oh, that's not cascadey enough. But for now, let's just fill that in. Ooh. The side of the head looks bare because we haven't put our flower on there yet. We need that to dry first, right? So for now, this is our lady with her lovely cascading hair, and you can add however many little hair curls, bumps you need, whatever we call that. We'll let that dry. There's probably a lot of, because we're using such a small brush, I have a ton of brush strokes. You see them up close. The bigger the brush you have, the less brush strokes. But for now, we need that detail, okay? All right, so we're almost done with the painting, honestly. I'm gonna rinse this off. They'll take long enough painting if you're teaching this, or painting, you're taking long enough painting that most of this will dry as you're going. I'm gonna take a smaller flat-topped brush, it's like a 3/4 inch bright, and I'm just gonna go over her dress again. If that feels stressful, if this is too big a brush, obviously use something that you're comfortable with. And if it's still too wet, if it's not working out, then wait, you know, do some dry time. It's a nice opportunity to go back if you've got any of these you want to highlight or low light or add some stuff to. You know, you can always go back in and just add a few curls or a little bit of white in here to just kind of re-detail, because sometimes when we're painting these, when we're initially painting them, it can get so muddy, you know, so wet that it's hard to add that detail. It all just mixes together. So I'm stepping away from it for a second, giving it a chance to dry, and then coming back to it can really help. So some bigger ones, some littler ones. Then I'm gonna get my small brush. Once you've got that filled in again, I'm gonna get my small brush. I'm gonna take a little bit of this white paint, and I'm just gonna redo this edge right up here so that you can really see where the dress starts. I've got this nice line here. If you're feeling real sassy, you can always add just a little bit of a highlight up at the top. Not required, but it just kind of gives you a little bit of definition there. All right, we're gonna now take a little bit of red, a little bit of white. Ooh, I'm almost out of white. We're literally, I'm painting too fast. This should be dry. We're literally just gonna add, it's gonna overlap the head a little bit, and if it's turning gray, stop, wait for it to dry. But we're literally just gonna add this beautiful flower bunch by dipping it in red and white, and then not mixing it, but just adding the dabs together. Now, if you want it to be an actual flower, you can do this and then add the little center to it. You know, do whatever makes you feel happy. And we're pretty much there. You're always welcome to go back over her again once she's dry, and get rid of some of those brush strokes. Hold on, I'm missing something that's bothering me. Just a second. Edge of that dress. Add some highlights and some lowlights. Okay, there we go. So we now have the structure of the dress, that background. We've broken down how to do the body in the X shape, in the shape that we want it, and then kind of gone around it. And then we've figured out how to break down her body shape by mirroring the bodice shape down here. And then the perspective, like the balance of like the measurement for the head. There you got your fancy lady.